Hello, Tiffany. Thank you for coming here today. Before we get into what we're going to discuss, can you tell me, have you been to counseling before?
Yes, I have.
Okay, so you're aware of that. Anything you say here is confidential, and I'm only supposed to, or I'm only allowed to break that confidentiality if you indicate that you want to harm yourself, or you want to harm others, or just commit a heinous crime, just mainly for your safety and the safeties of others. We have about 20 minutes today, so I definitely want to get into what's bothering you, like what brought you here, but also hopefully we can get to a point where we can come up with some solutions and take some action. Do you have any questions for me before we get started?
No, I don't.
Okay. So tell me what brought you here, Tiffany.
Well, recently I got engaged in August.
Oh, congratulations.
Thank you. So now, I feel like I'm getting pressured to have this big elaborate wedding. I mean, from family, friends, coworkers, anybody that knows I'm engaged. They're like, you need to have this wedding, blah blah. But I'm kind of battling back and forth of if I even want to have a wedding. I'm just not really into like the show.
Wow. So, how you said you got engaged in August. How long have you been dating your fiance?
It'll be 3 years at the end of this month.
Oh wow, that's so cute. So how long, or have you discussed with him about wedding plans? How does he feel about this?
And then he also wants a wedding, but the thing is, neither one of us have the means to have this big wedding. And then he doesn't understand how much it really costs to have a wedding. So he's just kind of like on the outside, kind of saying, like, yeah, we definitely should have a wedding. But he doesn't know, like, all the details and all the money that it takes to have a wedding.
So you don't feel like you want to have a wedding?
Not really. I'm battling back and forth with what I should do. I mean, I think personally, I really don't feel like I should have a wedding. I mean, I would want to if I had the means, but like, I feel like in the position that me and him are in, I don't feel like it's feasible or a good idea for us to put ourselves in that big debt or to have someone pay for this whole elaborate show for one day and then we don't have anything after that day.
Yeah, it sounds pretty practical and logical. So, when ideally, when do you see yourself getting married?
I say like 2016 sometime. I mean, I want to. That's another thing. I know wedding comes with a whole bunch of stress, and I want to get through my first year of teaching and get through this part first. Give him a little time to make sure he wants to, do his career that he's doing, or give him time to figure those things out. So I don't want to have. So it might be a long engagement. I mean, ideally, of course, nobody really wants a long engagement, but I think I need a long engagement, or we need a long engagement, so that we can prepare ourselves for this journey.
So you're looking at, you got engaged in August, so you're looking at maybe like a year and a half to
Yeah,
2 years.
yeah.
And so even with that year and a half to 2 year buffer, you're still iffy about having a wedding, like being able to afford it.
Yes, only because like for the next between 5 to 7 or 8 months, I won't be really employed because I'm doing my student teaching. So then I really only have a couple of months to prepare for a wedding after I start teaching. So I just need a bigger time gap, and I feel like everybody's rushing because they feel like, oh, like you're supposed to, after you get engaged, you're supposed to get married after a year, but I don't feel like it has to be like that.
Hmm. And of the people that are pressuring you, like, can you list them? Like, the people that are most significant, who are those people that are pressuring you into having a wedding?
My mom was mainly. She's recently backed off, but she was really pressuring me to hurry up and have a wedding like next year, ASAP. And she also offered to pay for the wedding, well, the venue, but not the all the other details that I would need to pay for. So that's making me push back from it, and just all the stress that comes from it. Also, some close friends, they kind of say, "Oh, you," but I think they only want me to have the wedding because they want to be in a wedding, not because they really care about having a wedding. But or they just want to, weddings are just something that people want to be a part of or go to or something. So they don't really look at the fees and all that. Then yesterday, coworkers, they asked me, "Oh, when's your wedding?" I'm like, "Oh, I don't have a date." They're like, I was like, "I don't even know if I want a wedding." They're like, "What? You better have a wedding. You have to have a wedding." So it's just all these different angles of people that's, thinks that this is just how it's supposed to be. And then, of course, my fiance, he also wants a wedding. He wants to, he loves his family, he loves his friends, he wants everyone to be there. He doesn't want it to just be us. He wants, for everyone to be a part of the celebration.
So, does that, like, what kind of feelings does that typically generate for you? Like when people are pressuring you into this wedding ceremony?
It makes me stress out. Like, it makes me, feel stress.
So can you tell me what stress feels like? Like, give me an example. Like, what does it do to you physically? How does it affect you mentally?
Well, it not really. It just makes me question. No, it doesn't really stress me out. I don't know if stress is the right word, but it just makes me question if what I want is what is supposed to happen. So it just makes me battle with myself, like what should happen. So I just keep on playing stuff in my head, and that's what happens. I play stuff over, like, oh, what happens if I have this wedding, and then what happens after the wedding? I don't even have a place to live, or I can't even live with my husband because we don't have any money to move in somewhere, or I'm still here with my mom while I just had this big elaborate wedding. So it's just those things that just play in my head. Or if I don't have a wedding, um, everybody's gonna be like, "Oh, you should have had a wedding." And what if I regret not having a wedding? That's another thing. I don't want to regret not having one, but then I don't want to regret having one.
So it sounds like you're battling between, or to you, it's really like a battle between financial stability and a wedding. So do you feel that that it's only possible for you to have one or the other, or do you see, like, within this 2-year span that it's possible for you to have both the financial stability between you and your fiance and be able to afford a wedding?
Yeah, within 2 years, yeah. So our engagement will be like over 2 years by the time I feel like I'm ready to be financially. We can be financially stable. Like, it's gonna be late 2016 probably, because I want to. Even when I start my teaching career, I want to get my personal debt taken care of before I start putting more debt into a wedding. So that's my logic behind why I don't want to have this elaborate wedding.
And when it comes to, like, when you think about the wedding, not the financial part, but just like the wedding itself, how do you feel?
I started thinking about all the stress that's going to come from planning a wedding. I guess I'm not really thinking of the day. I'm just thinking of the leading up to the day. So I'm always just thinking about, oh, I got to deal with all these people. I got to deal with them trying to get their stuff that they're going to wear. I got to deal with them being to rehearsal and just being a part of the day and just people being present. And I just don't want to, I just think about that. I don't even think I really think about the actual day. I feel like it's going to be stressful.
So let's try to visualize what the actual day would feel like. So you're in this pretty dress. Do you want your wedding to be at a church? Or
No,
just like a venue. So you're at this beautiful venue with lots of flowers and all the people that love and care about you. Like, how do you feel? Like, thinking of those aspects of it, does that bring positive feelings, or do you still consider all of the stress that comes before that?
that still makes me feel negative about it because I feel like most of those people that are going to be at the wedding are not people that know me and our journey and all that stuff. I mean, when you're planning a wedding, you just want to satisfy other people. So I just feel like in that group of crowd that I'm gonna look at, it's gonna be a lot of people that I'm like, why are you here? Or who is that? Because I just know that's what happens at weddings. Like, So it's not going to really be an intimate, special time. And that's what I feel like it should be between the person, the two people, and then, yes, their immediate family. But the wedding that everyone, like if my mom decides to pay for it or whatever, help to pay for it, she wants to invite all these friends of hers or just all these people that I don't really care to be in the audience when I look out.
So it sounds like you feel like the wedding isn't for you. It's for everyone else around you.
Yeah, I think that's just how I'm feeling. Like I'm really gonna be having it for everyone else because I haven't had any really. I mean, initially I did like when I first got engaged. I'm not gonna lie. Like I just started like looking up wedding stuff. Like literally like the first day or I got engaged, I started looking up stuff, and then like I don't know what happened in the midst of me looking up stuff. I just changed my mind all of a sudden. Like I don't want this. So I'm not sure what clicked or because I was excited. Like I can't even deny it. I was really excited about having a wedding. So I'm not sure what really happened to make me feel like no, this is not gonna work.
Well, yeah, from what you said, it seems like just getting into the planning of it made you feel stressed. Like this is way too much. And that's definitely understandable. I'm sure you've seen the shows Bridezillas. Like this is why they become that way. But it I don't want to say it concerns me, but I really just wonder this image of a wedding that you have because it's like typically a lot of girls are, oh, I can't wait to get married and have a dress and all of that. And I see that you're looking at it from a very practical, logical sense. And I was wondering, like, what experiences have you had with weddings that kind of like paint this picture for you?
Recently, one of my close friends, I'm in their wedding. Just that whole even just engagement party and just her planning process just made me be like, oh my gosh, I never want to do all that. And then also another friend of mine, she got married and she paid all this money, and then she just felt like she kind of didn't get anything in return. Like, I mean, not like I'm just looking for a wedding to get gifts, but she just felt like she had this elaborate wedding, pay for all these people to eat and come, and then she didn't get really any gifts from her family or any things like that. And it was kind of like, wow, that's kind of sad that, you did all that for them, and then, they don't get a small gift to just say, congratulations, here you go to start your new journey. And, even just talking to her, all the money she spent and just all the time. I mean, she actually planned her wedding in a couple of months, but, just that whole journey and just the breakdown of costs and stuff, it just kind of startled me because I'm like, oh, it's a lot of money and just, the stress that she had to go through, and it was just a lot. So.
Yeah. And when you're thinking of like, oh, that's a lot of money, are you thinking of it based on your current income? Or are you considering the income that you would have once you start your career, which would be before your ideally before your wedding?
A little bit of both. I mean, now, of course, like I was saying, I'm not going to be making money until late next year. But on top of that, my first priority when I do start making money will be to pay off my debt my personal debt that I have before I enter in a marriage with someone and have all this debt. And he also has personal debt that he needs to take care of. And this is just aside from student loans. This is just debt from other places, just us having debt that we need to take care of. And I feel like we need time to do that. And I don't know, I just don't feel like having that money, just having my checks without paying this debt, probably take a while for that to happen because I need to make sure I clear all that stuff first. So
and when you say clear all of that stuff, are you referring like you want to pay off all of your student loans before you?
No, not my student loans. Like I said, it's aside from student loans. It's just other debt, like
credit card debt.
Yeah, credit card debt and just small debt like that. I mean, I want to pay off one of my student loans because it's just a debt that I have to keep paying on even currently. But yeah, just debt like that, small debt. But yeah, I just want to clear that off first.
Yeah, that sounds pretty stressful.
Yeah. Then I think about like what's wrong with me because I feel like you were saying earlier, like other women or other girls kind of fantasize about the wedding day, and then I don't know, my perspective changed so fast. So I'm like, where did this come from?
Yeah, and that's why I asked you like your experience with weddings. But seeing that you've been on the planning side of it and been in all of that limbo, it makes sense. Like that's what you're thinking about, and that's very stressful. Some people just really like the idea of the dress just overshadows all of that. Like it's worth it. So, um, but have you considered getting well as far as because I know that you were concerned about a long engagement versus having a wedding next year. Now, would you consider having like getting married and then having a wedding afterwards?
Yeah, that was the other thing I considered was to get the paper marriage, get ourselves stable in a place to make sure that once we do have this bigger wedding, we have a home to go to after. So that was what I wanted to do, and when I told my fiance, he wasn't really excited about it, but he said because he feels like when people usually do that, they don't they end up not having a wedding because they feel like, hey, we already married, we don't need to have that. So he felt like that, and I couldn't even tell him that won't happen because I feel like it's a chance that that could happen that we just don't have one after
Yeah,
that.
that makes a lot of sense. And um, I my sister's friend had a similar situation where she got married and then she had her wedding the following year. I think she got married like in August. I mean, no, October, and then she had her wedding the following summer. But to ensure that she had her wedding, she they put a deposit on the place. So it's kind of like we already have a place. We're not gonna we're
Mm-hmm.
not going to shake this. So it made it. I guess it made it that they had to for the next 8 to 10 months prepare for that wedding because
Mm-hmm.
they already put money down in that sense. And it seemed to work because they had a really nice wedding.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe just something to consider.
Yeah.
And as far as do you feel any other stresses when it comes to when you think about getting married?
Married or the wedding?
Just the whole process.
Stresses I just think about is um my fiance and his job. It just he doesn't seem to be happy all the time with his job, and it makes me kind of worried about that. I mean, I'm not worried that he won't have a job, but I want him to be able to find a job that he enjoys rather than to just settle at a job. Just because entering in a marriage like this, I don't want him to feel like he's trapped or he wasn't able to do what he wanted to do. So I want him to figure these things out before we even start our wedding process, the marriage, and all this stuff. So I feel like having more time to, see everything, and just time, honestly, can just show a lot of stuff. So I just want to have more time. I think that's another reason why I want to extend this engagement so that we both have time to prepare ourselves for this journey. I don't want to just jump into something that we're not ready for, like financially, marriage wise, personal wise. It's just so much to consider when you're about to get married, and I'm just not the type to just jump into situations just because it's supposed to be like this, or you know we've been together this long, we need to make this type of jump. And honestly, by the time we get married, I feel like it'll be a good 4 years of experience of us having this journey. And I know that even after we get married, to be honest, we're still going to have ups and downs, and we're not going to honestly probably be where we want to be, or we still have growing to do. And I feel like that's another thing that people forget when you're getting married is that when you're getting married, it doesn't mean that I have to get this out of my head that before I get married, everything's gonna be ready, and everything's gonna be just set, and I'm just gonna get married. Everything's gonna be perfect. So once I get that little image out my head, I feel like I'll be more excited about the wedding, excited about these things, and I have to just realize that everything's not gonna be ready. Like me and him are still gonna have to get through some things before we are where we want to be.
Yeah, and that definitely is. I really like your outlook when it comes to that because you are planning for this to be forever. Like it sounds like you're really committed to the idea of marriage, or like what it's supposed, or what people say it's supposed to be, which is lifelong, and you're preparing for that. So we are coming up on our time, but I did want you to just leave with something that you could work on to maybe make this a smoother transition. And one suggestion that I have is that you maybe just talk to people that you maybe that you don't know, but people that you see have been married for a certain amount of time, and just discuss their journey from engagement to marriage, and see like what things are parallel with your situation, or what things that you didn't like, or just things like that, so you can have more of like a, I don't know what to call it, a back, something to pull from, like experiences to pull from, just to see, because I understand, like you say, you need to combat the image of, or get over the image of everything being perfect when you get in. And I think the best way to do that is to see people that are successful in that didn't have that perfect beginning.
Yeah, that sounds like a good idea.
But we are coming up on time. But I would like to thank you for coming to me, and hopefully that we can talk about this issue again. Or I don't want to call it an issue, because it's something beautiful, getting married, and it's just common to have these stresses. But hopefully we can talk about this later.
Thank you.